Meanwhile, CEO Dana White exposes Jake Paul in an interview and makes absurd claims around the thought process of Jake Paul as he prepares to fight Mike Tyson.
That's why he has to get a guy like Tyson and
to try to get some credibility back.
When he fought somebody that was actually his age and was actually a boxer and was actually his size, he lost. I mean, it is what it is. I'm not trying to shit on the kid.
Yeah.
Dana White claims that Jake Paul is making a lot of money while fighting people that are older than him. However, Dana is quite skeptical if Jake's actually making the type of money he exclaims on social media, but a lot of drama comes in when people younger or older than Jake get beat up by the 27-year-old. When asked about the chance of Mike Tyson winning against Jake Paul on November 15th, Dana responded, "I think that Mike Tyson has a puncher's chance against anybody. Mike's 58 years old, you know what I mean? I hate doing this because Mike gets mad at me for every time that I do this, but Mike shouldn't be fighting." Moreover, Dana also accused Jake of the way he's fighting the boxers with age gaps, when he said, "Fight guys that box for a living and fight guys that are your age. How about that?" The ridiculous amount of claims that come out of Jake Paul's mouth are enough to make Dana White laugh. When Dana heard that Jake Paul wants to fight Canelo, he said that Jake should fight Canelo if he thinks that is possible for him. Because for Canelo, who is a pro boxer and who has been doing boxing for a living, Jake would be a 30-second payday for him. Canelo fights real guys and keeps his credibility intact, but he does not want to waste time on Jake Paul, who is a YouTuber turned boxer. Dana further comments, Jake needs these guys. Jake needs Tyson and all these other people because everybody is going to tune in to hope that Mike Tyson knocks Jake out. They are not tuning in because they think Jake Paul's a good fighter and they want to see him compete. Dana also says that when Jake Paul fought a professional boxer, Tommy Fury, in 2023, he lost. So if Jake keeps fighting guys that are older than him, then obviously he will remain the champion. On the contrary, if he faces off with people who are the same age as him, bad. Dana also compares Jake to Butterbean, who is a retired boxer and fought for over 2 decades. He also made a name for himself by fighting lesser known and older guys, to which the critics proclaim that he is not a real boxer. Once Butterbean started fighting guys that were the same age as him, then he started losing and the novelty of the champion started wearing off.
But he got beat, and the novelty did wear off. That's why he has to get a guy like Tyson and
to try to get some credibility back.
When he fought somebody that was actually his age and was actually a boxer and was actually his size, he lost.
Similar to what Dana has to say, a surprising interview with one of Mike's sparring partner reveals the inability of Jake Paul to handle full force punches from Mike Tyson.
I never believed that Mike Tyson could pull his punches. I'd never seen him pull his punches. But with Roy Jones, the 4-time champion of the world, Mike hit him a body shot. And he sickened Roy Jones with that body shot. But Mike didn't go for the finish.
You could tell.
And he carried Roy Jones to the final bell. I was happy that he did it, especially for Roy Jones. So Jake Paul would have seen this. I'd never seen it before. I do believe that Mike will pull his punches.
Mike's sparring partner further explained why he thinks the fight between Jake Paul and Mike Tyson will be an exhibition fight and not a real boxing match. He says, "I never believed that Mike Tyson could pull his punches. I'd never seen him pull his punches, but with Roy Jones, the 4-time champion of the world, Mike hit him a body shot and he seconded Roy Jones with the body shot, but Mike didn't go for the finish. You could tell. And he carried Roy Jones to the final bell. I was happy that he did it, especially for Roy Jones." Previously in 2020, when Mike was at the age of 54, he fought Roy Jones Jr., who was at 51 that time. Roy Jones is a retired American boxer who held titles for world championships in 4 weight classes. The match ended up being a draw, and it was speculated that Mike took Roy to the last round and on his feet. Since that match was more of an exhibition rather than a real fight, many people are claiming that Mike Tyson's fight with Jake Paul will be a real boxing match rather than a fight where they both pull their punches. Mike's sparring partner further comments about how the match will go about in November. "He'd never seen it before. I do believe that Mike will pull his punches with Jake because there is no way that Jake Paul could take a full force punch from Mike Tyson. They gotta promote the fight. They gotta sell the fight. You have to understand the fan base has got to watch the fight. But I still think it's going to be an occasion for Jake Paul to share the ring, like I said, with one of the greatest heavyweights of all time. And I don't think that is going to be a proper tear-up." Mike's sparring partner further elaborates that the fight between Jake Paul and Mike Tyson will be a sparring session for the entertainment of the fans. If Mike Tyson were to go full force on Jake Paul, then he will get hurt because he cannot handle the explosive force of Mike's punches. The fight between Mike Tyson and Jake Paul was to occur originally on July 20th, but it got delayed because Mike was suffering ulcers in his stomach when he was flying on a plane. If we shift our focus to what Jake Paul has to say, when the fight between Mike and Jake got delayed, Jake believes that both of them will be fighting eventually, even if it's at a later date, although it was sad for him and the fans who had been looking forward to the fight to encounter the delay.
Yeah, no, I mean, I was definitely pretty devastated, but I first and foremost wanted to make sure that Mike was healthy. I love and respect Mike, and I was pretty devastated for everyone on the undercard as well. And just this was such an iconic event, but thankfully Mike's okay, doing great, and we can still run it at a later date. And that's what I'm focused on now, is just getting to November 15th and still giving people a historic fight.
Jake was putting on a lot of weight before the fight with Mike Tyson, but now that he has a few months before the Mike Tyson fight, he is focused on maintaining a normal cruiserweight. After laying off the pizza, Jake thinks that he is much skinnier, even if it's just 10 lbs, and on a manageable, healthy weight level before the fight. Jake further boasts that he will continue to be better at the gym, train in a timely fashion, and be committed to being the world champion. His commitment to the goal of beating world-class champions is quite positive. While talking about his training in the interview, Jake admits that he needs to manage the training sessions in a way that does not exhaust him before November 15th. The same is true for the fight between Jake Paul and Mike Perry on July 20th, when Mike Tyson was replaced by Perry due to Mike's medical conditions. Jake adds, "We are going to have to pace it and not go too hard too soon and take some days off. I'm still going to be going to Paris with the US Olympic team, so I'll be gone for 2 weeks doing that, so we'll pace it correctly and not overtrain." In the heat of the moment, many critics were accusing Jake Paul of fighting older guys and saying he shouldn't be fighting Mike because he has health problems now. Jake responded, "Tell Mike Tyson that because he does not give a shit what anyone thinks. He is his own boss. He wants to fight me. He told my team, like, I don't give a shit about this. Like, tell Jake I'm going to rip his head off and knock him the fuck out. And this just bought him more time. So tell Mike Tyson not to fight and to just chill and see how that goes. I think Mike wants it more than anyone. And if he wants it, then I'm down." UFC commentator Joe Rogan affirms the skill of Jake Paul and explains to fans why he is a legitimate boxer. Rogan says that people are slowly realizing that Jake Paul is a true fighter and he gets less credit for boxing since he is a YouTuber, but the kid can fight. Jake has beaten former UFC champions, legitimate boxers and athletes, which adds to the credibility of his boxing talent. Rogan comments on Jake's ability to fight and the risk he is taking with challenging Mike Tyson by saying, "The fact that he is willing to fight Mike Tyson, even if Tyson is 57, just the fact that he's willing to actually take a chance at Mike Tyson, not being able to do what he used to do, because that's what he's doing. Like, there's not a fucking chance in hell that Jake Paul would survive against Mike Tyson that beat Marvis Frazier, because that was Mike Tyson before he won the title."
I say, if this kid was not a YouTuber, if he wasn't some guy that you knew from the time he was like 16 years old on YouTube, and you just saw him box, and you saw him knock out former UFC champions, you saw him beat legitimate boxers, or beat athletes, and beat a bunch of MMA fighters, you'd go, this kid can fucking fight. He knows how to fight.
Joe Rogan commented on Mike Tyson's ability to beat pro boxers even at an older age, since the former American boxer Joe Frazier accused Mike Tyson of beating him if Joe Frazier was in his prime age. Allegedly, he made his son Marvis Frazier fight Mike Tyson to prove that his son is better than the famous legend Iron Mike. Nonetheless, the fight occurred in New York in 1986, and Mike Tyson made Frazier lose within the first round. This event later came to be known as Mike Tyson's fastest knockout in his professional career. At this time, Mike Tyson was in his prime, and he was unstoppable with the power of his punches and speed of his movement. When Joe Rogan was asked if Mike Tyson has lost some of his talent due to his age compared to when he was in his 20s, Rogan replied, "He hasn't lost everything. He hasn't lost everything. If you see him hit those pads, he hasn't lost everything. He's still not normal, but he's still like a professional heavyweight boxer. He's still terrifying." Joe Rogan further explains his views on whether Jake Paul should fight a 58-year-old and who is going to emerge victorious in the fight. He says, "You never bet against a 27-year-old fighting a 57-year-old. Mike Tyson's mind has switched over into war, like he was doing this interview and someone said to him, he goes like, 'You look like you're in your 20s,' and he goes, 'I just eat raw meat.' He goes, 'I'm eating raw meat.' He goes, 'Because that's what I'm gonna eat when I fight. I'm gonna eat him. It's raw meat.'" Rogan compliments Mike Tyson's victories as well as his determination to smash men in the past. Rogan further explains that Jake Paul should call the whole thing off, because if he sees a guy who is in his 50s eating raw meat, then that is a warning sign.
When a man has smashed men before, just smashed men, like when no one can stand in front of him, that is in his mind still. That's in there. There's a dark chamber in his mind that he can open up.
Yeah.
Mike Tyson has established himself as a conqueror, and his mindset is the same when he is coming out for Jake Paul. The real question is whether Mike's body can move the same way that his mind moves. When Joe Rogan had an interview in the past with Mike Tyson before he was ready to fight Roy Jones, Junior Mike was a different guy, but then he got the opportunity to fight Roy Jones and the tables turned completely. Rogan said, "I changed the shape of this table because of him. We had a table that was bigger in size at the old and the new studio. I was like, maybe we make the table smaller. It'll be more intimate with the guests." Rogan further explained why he changed the size of the table at his studio. It will be closer to the guest. So we had Mike Tyson in when he was 300 libs, and he was just eating and having fun and smoking weed. He goes, "I don't even work out. If I work out, it will excite my ego, and then I don't like that person." So he just decided that he was going to be chill Mike Tyson, and then he got this offer to fight Roy Jones Jr. Rogan shockingly revealed why he was terrified of Mike Tyson and the way his mind works, because if Mike puts his heart into training, then he becomes a terrifying beast all of a sudden.
In his forearms. So he's sitting there, and he's a different human. He's so intense that I was like, if this table was closer to him, I would be nervous. Like, I wouldn't be able to do my best job as a podcaster. The reason why this table is this width is the second podcast I did with Mike Tyson. Even Jamie.
Joe Rogan and his team are very excited to watch Mike Tyson and Jake Paul fight, and Joe thinks that Jake made a brilliant move on challenging Mike Tyson. If he was going to fight anybody, only some people would watch, but now that he is fighting Mike Tyson, way more people will watch the fight. Joe also predicts that the fans will be divided in two major categories, the old gang and the young lot. The old people would want nothing more than to watch Mike Tyson beat the shit out of the YouTuber turned boxer Jake Paul. On the contrary, young people would want to see their star Jake Paul shine. Rogan predicts that there will be a huge change from when we last saw Mike against Roy Jones, since that fight was more of a don't knock me out fight, Joe says. "I think the Roy Jones fight, they made an agreement not to punch in the head. I'm pretty sure because I watched that fight carefully many times and it never looked like he was targeting Roy's head, which made sense why Roy agreed to do the fight. You know, I think they probably made an agreement it would be like a real boxing match, but just don't knock me out." Mike Tyson's behavior is very unpredictable, which is evident from the press conference between Jake and Mike Tyson before their official match as he lashes out on a reporter.
How do you respond to people who are critical about this fight taking place in the first place at all because of your differences, particularly your age?
Well, I don't see too many people critical about it. Look at this. Ha 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 ha.
Critics, I mean.
Excuse me?
Critics, people in the
Who?
industry.
Tell me who. Name us somebody.
Folks.
You? Who?
No, folks who say it. Thanks.
Yeah, no, thanks.
During the press conference, another reporter commented on Mike Tyson's age, but then Mike started shouting at the reporter in a very unforgiving manner. "What did you just call me again? What did you call me?" Mainstream boxing champions like Muhammad Ali's grandson, Nico Ali Walsh, and Canelo are denying Jake Paul's boxing talent as they continue to refuse offers to fight Jake Paul. They feel like the circus-level boxing is not worth their time. So what are your takes on the Mike Tyson versus Jake Paul fight happening on November 15th? Let us know your thoughts in the comments section below. Make sure to check out some of our other videos on the screen if you enjoyed this one.